Hello, everyone. This is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And you know what? I don't know why he keeps showing up, but he keeps coming back for more. It's the Brooklyn Hit Squad. How are we doing today, Mr. Hit Squad?
We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. You know, I feel like I have no choice but to come back. So.
Oh, that's a dangerous proposition. And you know what? We are going to jump right back into the danger zone. We had a lot of fun. I don't know if it was this week or last week with our fact or fiction video, and we a lot of subscribers had sent emails asking questions for fact or fiction. And you know what? I wanted to go over a couple of them with you and see what your thought process is. We had a gentleman email me today saying this: what do we think Daniel Jones will do in year 2? But I'm going to change that to a question. And that question is going to be Daniel Jones from rookie messiah to sophomore slump, fact or fiction? I'm going to let you have the first word.
I think that's fiction. I think he's actually going to have a really good year this year. I think that he's going to fit well in this Jason Garrett offense. I think Jason Garrett, he's one of those people that, he's really good at coaching when it comes to the players individually. You saw how he was able to help groom Dak Prescott, Tony Romo. So who's to say, I know it's optimism, but who's to say that can't be done with Jason Garrett? We've also improved this offensive line. Hopefully it looks improved. And I think they're really going to be running the ball a lot more than throwing it, which should only really help Daniel Jones with the opportunities that he'll get.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm actually going to take the opposite opinion, and I am going fact. I do not think he is going to have as good a season as he did in year 1. Reasons why I should refer to training camp. Training camp is going to have a 20-day ramp-up period and then have only 14 practices in pads to install the brand new offense, and the rest of it's going to be sort of like an OTA or a passing camp. Daniel Jones is technically going to be in his 3rd offensive system in 3 years, going back from Duke, going back to Pat Shurmur, and now into the Garrett system. And the offensive line, which you are touting at this moment, may potentially have 3 new starters on that line. And you may be relying on 2 rookies or 2 unproven players in Andrew Thomas and whoever may be on the other side, because we don't know if Nate Solder's going to opt out because of the health of his child. We don't know what side of the line, Andrew Thomas is going to play on. We don't know if the other side is open, who's going to fill in that spot. And also the fact that we don't know Spencer Pulley, Nick Gates, or Shane Lemieux is even going to be able to handle the center position. While I think that we will run the ball extensively, here's the problem. You run the ball extensively, they're going to put 7 in the box and dare you to beat them deep. And the question is going to be, is our wide receiver depth going to be astute enough to turn around and make the plays? Because you got to remember, Golden Tate's a year older. Sterling Shepard's always in concussion protocol. Darius Slayton's going to go into year 2, so that you are going to have a lot of teams keying up on him. And then you have Evan Ingram. We can keep him out of the bubble. I should say the bubble wrap. And then also the fact that you may have a bunch of unproven wide receivers behind him. So it's not, I would say, conducive to taking a second-year quarterback and progressing him into a different system. I hope I am totally wrong. But if you take a look at the facts right now, I'm going to call it, I'm going to say he is not going to have as good as a season as he had his rookie season. What are your thoughts?
And not to cut you off, I just wanted to throw this out there, just one quick point. I think you make a good point in terms of the offensive line, that we may be relying on 3 unproven players, possibly, especially if Nate holds out. But when I really look at it, I personally am just looking for a player that can be an upgrade over Mike Remmers, who wasn't terrible last year compared to what we've had in recent years. But if we can at least have, which we have depth in that position now, we can at least have one of these players be somewhat of an upgrade compared to Mike Remmers. I'm not too worried about the right side.
But the problem is you have unproven depth. There's no one on that line outside of Zeidler who you can say, because even Hernandez had a down year in his second year. There's no one on that
Absolutely.
line really that you can say, this is a guy, this is an improvement, because of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen yet. Now, like I said, my opinion could change as training camp progresses. But right now, if you're telling me Jason Garrett has to install a brand new system and Daniel Jones has to learn it with only 14 padded practices and no training camp, I'm thinking between week 6 to 8 before we see any type of growth from Daniel Jones, only because of the fact I think the Giants are just going to keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point there, especially with him learning his third. Yeah, I mean, you are correct about that third new offense. But from what I noticed, at least this is just me personally, with the Pat Shurmur offense, completely different, yes. It didn't seem like Daniel had an issue learning the playbook compared to some players. I'm not going to name names. But it didn't seem
Hopefully
like he
he's
had
in a Baker.
You took it right out of me. But I just don't think that, I think he's a smart kid. I think Daniel Jones has proved that he's a smart player. I think, I'm not expecting it to be perfect. Like you said in your video, this may be a watered down version of what we may see, and I'm kind of expecting that. But I guess I'm just a little optimistic that we can have
my pessimism does not come from Daniel Jones. It comes from the fact that he's going to have to, the offensive line's going to have to gel. And if Jason Garrett does run the facsimile of, the Air Coryell offense, the receivers in that offense usually have 3 to 4 different routes that they can run at any time, at any play. And all of it's, predicated on motion and timing. So the problem is, if he is not in sync with his wide receivers because lack of practice time and lack of actual game time, that you can. I did a comment about it a couple of weeks ago where I said, if you remember way back a little while ago with Ruben Randle in the Chicago game, it was the only time I've ever seen Eli Manning get upset with a wide receiver because he threw 3 interceptions in a row, and they were all to Ruben Randle's side because he ran the wrong route. And
I remember that game.
That's what I get worried about happening to Daniel Jones. Not that I don't think he can progress. I think there's just a lot around him that he has to gel so he can progress.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. And it's funny because I do remember that Chicago game. And, Eli was, just you never really saw that from him. So you had to have known that something was going on. And I think this is just my personal opinion, not to get too off topic. I think a lot of those picks that Eli has, you got to blame on Ruben Randle.
We did a video at one point a while back where we broke down when Eli Manning had his 24 interception or 27 interception, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, we broke it down, and something ridiculous like 9 or 10 of those interceptions came on Ruben Randle's side. I mean, that's again, it's a guy who doesn't. It's a guy that maybe should be a Baker because he doesn't know the playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think you make a good case.
Which is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we saw how he did on Philly, on other teams. I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
No, he went to Philly, then he got waived, then he got picked up again, he got waived again. He hasn't been in the league since the Giants.
Yeah, I could imagine that, unfortunately. But no, I agree with you though. I think you make some valid points. I think we just gotta wait to see what happens. Because I know that's your opinion can change, my opinion can change. I'm always open to more information, and if I'm wrong about something, I got no problem admitting it. Some people aren't. I'm not gonna name names either.
Hey, we're wrong all the time.
But
getting into that topic number 2, we're gonna keep jumping into rapid fire topics here.
Sure.
Okay, and it's going to be kind of a weird question to ask you because I received another email last week, and the email basically said to me, you seem to work alone. Do you ever think that you will collaborate with any of the other Giants YouTubers in the community? And I'm not going to answer that question because I know my answer, but I'm going to break it down to you. Fact or fiction? Will Online Big Blue move outside the hit squad and potentially do a collaboration with another YouTuber, another giant YouTuber?
Um, um, you know, I in my heart, like from the bottom of my heart, when I really break it down, I think it's possible. I really do. Despite despite what may be seen, I think it is possible. I think if that were to happen, then it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. But you know, I think he will.
So you're saying it's a fact?
Yes, I am.
I'm going fiction on that one. You know what? I would potentially do a video with like Ron Effect, because he makes me laugh and he seems like a guy I want to have a beer with or hang out with at the Giants game or training camp.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, you know, I would possibly do something with the Bad Dog, but but like I said, we like to keep ourselves segregated in some ways, because honestly, we try to be nice and leave comments on other people's pages, and we seem to get attacked for bringing up a point or saying something, and I have to laugh because people send me emails, and I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, don't send me any emails if someone says something to me on somewhere else. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But someone sent me an email that said that a new giant YouTuber made a statement that after I commented on his page that we don't on this channel, we don't break any news. We're like everyone else. And I took offense to that. I didn't respond because the fact that I do think we break news. I mean, we called the rule hire 24 hours before it happened. We were the only person that's basically said that Andrew Thomas is going to be drafted by the Giants. We called the Bradbury and the Martinez signings. We could keep going on and on. But like I said, that is the only thing I've ever taken offense to by any other YouTube personality posting. Because like I said, I think we do our research. I do think we do our due diligence. I think that we try to work on the resources that we have, to try to bring the best content available. And the other question I had, someone asked me, and I'll just bring it up right now real quick. It's not even a fact or fiction. I didn't wear a hat today because, yes, I do have hair. So I guess one of the comments was, why do you always wear a hat? Don't you have any hair? Yeah, I got hair. So no hat today. So just to prove
he's not balding yet, guys. He's not balding
years old, and I still got a full head of hair. So you want to know why? Because I don't ever care about anything that other people say.
I choose to cut my hair this low.
Well,
I'm about to be 24, but I choose to cut my hair.
You're a lot younger than I am. So.
Oh, I know. I am.
All right, fact or fiction question number 3, and we're going to jump into this one real quick. DeAndre Baker. We all know that Aldrich Rojas was cut. We know that today Baker was put on the exemption list. Fact or fiction, Dave Gettleman at some time or other will cut DeAndre Baker.
I think he will. I think it's going to be a fact. I think that he will. I think when you really look at it, I wasn't surprised that they got rid of Aldrich. I said in my video, we really can't compare this to the DeAndre situation because there was literally police involved. Like, there was we needed witnesses, anything like that. Like, he got caught red-handed.
But again, he was charged with 3 misdemeanors.
Exactly.
Not 8 felonies.
We don't know yet.
Everyone's always saying that DeAndre's innocent until proven guilty. Well, the same actually applies to Mr. Rojas.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you there. I mean, unfortunately, I think really what the Giants are doing is just they're waiting to see how this plays out. I think it would look bad if, let's say, he's deemed not guilty and they released him, as opposed to, even if he is deemed guilty and he's still on the team, I would give them more props for them waiting and doing. And, we all know they're doing their due diligence. You'd be foolish to think that they aren't. But I think that, as more information comes out and until he is charged, whether it's guilty or not.
I don't want any more information to come out because every time information comes out, it's always something bad.
Yeah, I mean,
information came out, he was in witness tampering and bribery.
Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, I'm a person of I want to wait until more information comes out. However, I feel at this point, if you would have written all of this up and given this to a Hollywood director, they wouldn't even take this. I don't even think the low budget sci-fi movie part of Hollywood would take this because it just doesn't seem realistic. But in 2020, anything is realistic, I am feeling at this point. So in regards to DeAndre, it is unfortunate. I hope the best for DeAndre, regardless of whether he is charged or not. At the end of the day, he's still a kid, but he's a grown man as well. Um, I wouldn't be upset if they did release him, but I just feel that, they're really just waiting to see what happens before they do, if they decide to. But I do think that they will.
Well, I'm actually going to go the opposite way again, and I'm going fiction. They are not going to release him. And I think everyone knows that I'm a big proponent of cutting them. I've said let's cut him since day one. I have never changed my opinion. I've never wavered because of the fact that if you are building a culture, you cannot keep him on the team, even if he at this point in time, you have to go by the assumption that he is guilty of something. And everyone says, well, his lawyer keeps saying that he's going to get off. I've heard his lawyer say 1,000,000 times in the last 2 months that he's getting off and Broward County's dropping the charges, and nothing's ever happened. And then the problem I also have is if he was truly working with the FBI and the FBI would not have gone out. The police would not have gone out and gotten a search warrant to see his Instagram and all of his other messages. If he was working with them directly, there would be no need to do that. But I think this is a Gettleman guy. I think this falls under the Leonard Williams situation. You traded up to get him. You gave away assets. You picked him 30th overall. He was your starter. Gettleman to me seems recently that if he makes a mistake like Leonard Williams or DeAndre Baker, he doesn't want to take the high road and admit it. And I think he took the low road by waiting for the NFL to put him on the commissioner exemption list. I think he should have been suspended immediately after the charges were filed until the case was cleared. But the Giants didn't go that route. So I think at this point in time, if they haven't gotten rid of him yet, unless he is found guilty, I think he is going to be on the team for 2020.
Respect. I see your points there. I mean, in a sense, I'm kind of the same. I feel like, if he isn't charged or deemed guilty, I think he'll stay on the team. But I think that if he is charged as guilty,
well, he's already been charged.
Well, if he's deemed as guilty,
yes,
and he goes to jail, 100%, he's off the team.
Here's the question for you: what happens if he gets found guilty? But the charges get knocked down to misdemeanors, not a felony, misdemeanor.
I think they suspend him.
Well, he's going to get suspended either way by the league. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, but I think just so that the Giants can make it a point to these other players and not make it seem like the league is going to deal with him. I feel like they may want to set an example for these other youngsters coming in saying, we're not going to tolerate this. This is the price to pay, and they got to make. They kind of have to make.
But you cut your kicker, who was only charged with 3 misdemeanors. Yeah. So what is that saying? So to me, it's basically saying, as long as you're not a starter, you're going to be on the team if you get charged and found guilty of misdemeanors.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of hard to argue that because in one notion you could say DUIs are different, but at the same time, this DeAndre Baker situation is different. So are armed robberies. So yeah, it's tricky. But I think when you look at it from that aspect of they did trade away assets for it, this was a risk. They ignored what these scouts were saying about DeAndre Baker. I kind of had to agree with you there. And as fortunate as it is, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, we're going to leave that segment and we're going to jump into training camp 2020. I have 2 questions for you. Sure. Question number 1 on training camp 2020. What are you looking most forward to seeing competition-wise at the training camp?
If I could pick one, I'm very interested to see the wide receiver corps. I want to see what depth are we going to have. I'm not even fully banking on Corey Coleman. You know, he tore his ACL. You know, I can't expect him to.
Cleveland and New England.
Yeah, so it's like I can't expect him to really. I hope he makes that big of a difference, but I can't put that high of expectations on him. But you know, I'm really excited to see Benjamin Victor, Austin Mack. They took the kid from LSU. His name isn't coming to my head right now. He's a nice speedster, but I think you make a point with Golden Tate getting another year in age. But I don't think that. I feel like that applies to obviously every player, but there's certain players that still, regardless of their age, have like production.
Well, he's hitting 35 now.
Golden Tate, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think he's
in his 30s for sure, but I don't know.
He's in his mid-30s.
But he played for the Bills. He played last year. Oh, my God! And you look at players like Frank Gore. Look how long he's been in the league. You know, and it's like, but then you look at Sterling Shepard. He has concussion issues. So it's like we really need to see what we have. And I think that they should have addressed the wide receiver position in the draft as opposed to just taking all these undrafted free agents, because I feel a lot of people get really hyped on these players and attached to these players, but don't take into consideration, look, a lot of these players aren't going to make the team.
Well, it's like years ago with Travis Rudolph. Everyone thought Travis Rudolph was a great story out of Florida State.
I was one of them. I made a video.
He didn't belong in the league, and I was doing YouTube back then, but I took crap for saying he doesn't belong in the league. But I thought he had a great story, but he just didn't. He just didn't have the. In my eyes, he just didn't have the talent.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the same argument with Reggie White Jr. You know, I was one of the few people that was excited, for that signing, but I feel
bad for Reggie White Jr. because I pick on him a lot.
Oh yes, you do.
He's always the one. He's the one I always compare to. When someone says Victor Cruz, I always say there's 300 Reggie White Juniors.
Yeah, I mean, you're not lying.
No,
you're not lying.
I just feel bad, not really, but I'm pretending I'm feeling bad about it. But I do pick on him a lot, though, and I do apologize for that.
Reggie, if you're watching, we apologize.
We apologize for my behavior.
That would be the position that I'm excited for. There are other positions I'm personally looking at, but I'm really focused on what depth are we going to have at the wide receiver position, as I feel like that's really what we need right now on the offensive side, our wide receivers. Because outside of Darius Slayton and maybe Golden Tate, I want to bank on Sterling Shepard, but he had a lot of concussions last year and the year before. So it's like we need, since Odell, I don't feel like we've had a solid number one.
I agree.
And we need, I wouldn't say a number one, but I would say at least a player that's going to be better than Darius Slayton, who right now I feel is our number one.
Last question. Outside of Daniel Jones, who on the roster currently, and they had to have played last year, who on the roster needs to take the biggest leap in 2020?
I'm going to go with Lorenzo Carter. Coming out of Georgia, I had higher expectations of him. I really thought that he was going to be a blue collar player. I've been waiting to buy his jersey, but I wait until I feel that the player has deserved my right to spend my money on their jersey. I'm a little weird.
I can't say that. I'm wearing an O'Shane Zimenez jersey. I
would buy an O'Shane Zimenez jersey because he did fairly good last year with the snaps that he was provided.
Yeah.
And he came from a small school. That's on my list, is to buy an O'Shane Zimenez jersey. But I don't have any beef with Lorenzo Carter, but I just feel like he hasn't been put in the right position to succeed. I think he's pretty good at coverage. He's decent at getting to the quarterback, but I don't think that's really what he's suited for. But I think that he's pretty decent in coverage, and I think that we will get something out of him compared to what we've seen the last 2 years.
Fantastic. All right. We are, like I said, we're going to try to keep this show moving as quickly as possible because I'm out of topics right now, but I am going to give you the last two questions or
Cool.
comments or topics or whatever you want to talk about or whatever you
Okay.
want to ask me.
I actually wanted to ask you, looking at Daniel Jones hopefully being our franchise quarterback, I think he is, but don't tell Tim I said that. Looking as this is going to be our starting quarterback, I'm interested to see, with the quarterbacks that we have on the roster, let's say, suppose Daniel Jones, God forbid, has another injury like he did last year with his ankle. Who do you feel is even good enough to back Daniel Jones that we have on the roster?
Oh, on the roster. I was going to say
On the
Scott
roster.
Bruner, or maybe bring back Eli. First of all, I am a Daniel Jones fan. A lot of people give me crap for being honest about Jones. I always said it before, didn't love him at 6, but I loved him at 17. But I understand that if you want your quarterback, you need to go get him. That's what, Ernie Accorsi did, and that's what George Young did. But if Jones goes down, to me, the season's lost.
Absolutely.
I think that Colt McCoy is a good backup for a short period of time. I've told the story a couple times that I was actually at Colt McCoy's pro day in Texas.
Wow.
And everyone was very impressed. That was 10 years ago. Everyone was very impressed with Colt. He had his chances to start. He was given opportunities. He is just not a starting caliber quarterback. So you know what? For a 2-3 game stint, I will take Colt McCoy over a lot of backups in the league. Cooper Rush, we have no idea what we're getting out of Cooper Rush. Not whatsoever. I mean, he's played sparingly in the preseasons. He's looked good, but it's easy to throw a touchdown against a guy that's going to be working at Home Depot a week later. So I don't have confidence in that. And Alex Tanney is basically a coach. He's a coach holding a clipboard on the sidelines wearing a uniform. So if Daniel Jones goes down, I think the season goes down unless we make some type of trade or just we would have to make some type of trade. I was hoping that they were going to pick up, I guess I suggested picking up someone like Marcus Mariota, kind of like what the Las Vegas Raiders did, as that backup just in case something happens. But like I said, to me personally, if he goes down, I see the season being lost.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I actually made a video on it. I would prefer Colt McCoy to back up Daniel Jones. I don't trust Alex Tanney. Cooper Rush is unproven. Yes, he has familiarity with the Jason Garrett system, but he's unproven. And Colt McCoy had little success in the NFL, maybe winning a game or two, but it's something. He has the NFL experience, and I'll take that. So, I got one more question.
Sure.
One more question for you. What rookie from this year's draft do you think will be our standout player?
Oh, I want to say Andrew Thomas, but I am leery to say that now that we are not having preseason or really having any live simulated game experience by wearing pads, by putting on the pads. I come from the old school, and I was actually chatting with one of the subscribers today about, I go back to when they were over at Pace University and over at Albany, the Giants, when they, I remember spending a week or two over in Troy, New York when they were up in Albany, and that was back with Coughlin, and they would run full pads. The same thing when I used to watch it at Pace with Parcells. I mean, you were doing 2-a-days, full pads. And when I worked at Tampa in 2003, I remember, again, 2-a-days, full pads, full contact. Without that, or as an offensive lineman, you cannot build up consistency and continuity. So I am going to go with Xavier McKinney. Why? Because defenses are always ahead of offenses early in the season. And with the fact that there's going to be no preseason, I think defenses are going to be well ahead of offenses for the first 4 to 5 weeks. And I think McKinney is going to slide into that spot perfectly. He knows how to play. He knows how to read the quarterback's eyes. I think he is going to be a very dangerous man.
Yeah, man, you're making fun for me because that was the player I was going to choose. But I think you hit the nail on the coffin, man. With no preseason, if there was at least maybe 1 or 2 preseason games, I want to say Andrew Thomas, so he gets a feel of this is what the NFL is, this is how fast it's going to be. I have no doubt that I think Andrew Thomas will have a good year this year, but just due to the circumstances and due to, as you said, defenses seem to catch on a little quicker than the offensive side. I feel like it would be Xavier McKinney. I'm really, really excited for Xavier McKinney. I've said countless times, and I will continue to say this, I do feel that Xavier McKinney and Jabril Peppers will be a very good duo for the New York Giants. I'm predicting they will at least be within the next year or two a top 3 duo. I'm really, really excited for the talent that we have in Xavier McKinney. I'm waiting to see what his final number is going to be so I can go buy it. So I agree with you 100%. But if we had a preseason, I'd say Andrew Thomas.
I agree. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to each close out this show with a thought. My first, basically it could be a thought on anything that you want to have a thought on at this point in time. I want to close it out by thanking the YouTubers, and excuse me, not the YouTubers, the YouTube community and my subscribers. We hit 4,500 subscribers and almost 300,000 views in under a year. Did I think anyone would watch for any extended period of time or have people watch 300,000 times in 11 months? I am flattered. I think that's wonderful. And like I said, we can't make this happen unless people watch. And I really would just, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank everyone that watches, sends emails, sends me encouraging text messages. I do laugh. I have given out my phone number to certain subscribers, which I never thought I would do. But, like I said, it's just a giant community. It's just been such a great community. And I really do appreciate everyone out there that watches and supports the channel. So I'm going to turn over the last thought to the Brooklyn Hit Squad.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to use my last thought wisely. Congratulations, man. That's a big milestone for you. You release great content. Everybody here, I know for a fact that they could be on this video would say the same thing. You're a credible guy. Yeah, you're an incredible guy as well. So, I'm blessed to, be doing these videos with you and you having me on the channel. It's always fun. And, guys, he's going to have some great content coming the way. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and you won't be disappointed.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Brooklyn Hit Squad, for coming on. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could if you could subscribe, if you could ring that bell, I think you know what that means. That would be
awesome.
There we go. Thanks again, Mr. Hit Squad.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you.